Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It's another quiet day of news, so I thought I would hop on and give you a quick update and maybe answer some questions that are commonly asked. You may not like the answers. I don't work for PyCore team. They're not paying me, even though I believe in the project and I've been in it since the beginning. And, like I said in previous videos, I monitor the in-app chat forums to see the problems that people are reporting. And it's always the same things over and over and over again. Now, things got really exciting when they added the new wrinkle of reverting migrations back to the transferable balances, and in some cases to unverified. Let's talk about price action. As of this morning, the PyCoin was trading at $1.17, which is a 2% increase over the last 24 hours. It peaked at $1.19. The trading volume is down 29% at 354 million. The circulating supply was increasing slightly over the course of the day, but it's now lower. And I have to suspect that that's due to continued burning of dead accounts or unverified PyCoin, and possibly reversions from pending migrations back to the user's transferable balance or unverified. I'm going to try to develop a metric to measure what's going on there, to give people more information about what could be happening. I'm not going to get into whether what the PyCore team is doing is right or wrong. It's not for me to decide. I'm just going to try to at least give some idea of what's going on, and you can do with that information whatever you will. Addressing some of the most common issues that people have, I'm going to start with migrations. The first thing you have to understand is that the migration is algorithmically controlled. Yes, it says that you're queued, but it's not a typical queue. It's not simply first in, first out, and whoever is in the queue gets processed in order. That's not how it works. And I know this for a fact. I've had so many people report that they've been in a queue longer than people that are on their earning team that they know personally who were migrated ahead of them. I honestly still think that the algorithm is influenced, by your lockup rate. If you lock up for longer periods of time and lock up larger amounts of your total, you will get priority on the migration, because that tells the Pi algorithm that your Pi is not going to just flood the market and affect the price. I can't see it being any other way, to be honest with you. Because if they did not have this control in place, the PyCoin would already be dead, and they don't want to do that. With regard to people having their migrations returned to their wallets, that was done to protect people. There were issues, a lot of issues that happened where people's migrations were going to wallets that weren't their own. When these things were looked at, it was noticed that email addresses in-app were changed, wallet addresses in-app were changed, and this indicates that people were compromised. The PyCore team is doing whatever they can to minimize this by putting in two-factor authentication, but that also means that they can't trust the migrations that have already happened. Now, people say that, oh, well, it went migrated to your wallet, but then got reverted, and so, that's not really decentralized. People need to read, okay? Most of these comments are from people who don't understand Pi, or who may not even be part of Pi to begin with, and are just using this as an excuse to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you read step 9 in your checklist, after you migrate, there's a 14-day pending period. That migration is not locked in. Lots of things can happen in those 14 days, and that 14-day window exists expressly for problems like this. If anything comes up, that migration can be reverted. It's a pending period, okay? It's not locked in stone. The fact that it moves back or can move back to your account is not a red flag, and people should be thankful it's happening. because it's preventing a lot more people from losing all their pie. And then they rolled out the two-factor authentication. If you see a pop-up saying you should do this, then do it, okay? If you don't do it, then you get what you get. Stop blaming the Pi core team. They're doing everything they can to protect you. But at some point, your mistakes are going to hurt you, right? And that's a hard truth, but come on. You're playing in the crypto space. We're all grown-ups here. Let's act like it. Now, if your migration got reverted, here's another hard truth for you. You are now back in the queue with everybody else. Whatever algorithmic thing went off to migrate you in the first place is now out the window. There is no indication whatsoever how long it's going to take for that migration. There's no priority for migration for people who've been reverted. Nope. You're back in the population with everybody else, and it's going to happen when it happens. In some cases, it went to your unverified, in which case it's not even part of your pool for transferring. That's probably because there's some irregularity in the amount. And they've said this before, that the amount that you see on your app screen is an estimate. The algorithms that compute these values take quite a long time to run. So it's not displayed real time. So what they do is they move it back to unverified, run the calculation over the course of several minutes, maybe even hours, and then redetermine how much goes back into your transferable balance. For some people, that resulted in a lower number. In others, it actually increased their transferable balance. If it stays unverified, then there's another problem happening, and that means there's something wrong with your account or something like that. Now, another thing I want to address is the 14-day myth. People need to read what's on their screens, okay? What the Step 9 says is that after migration, there's a 14-day pending period in which nothing can happen. Your lockup doesn't even start yet. It does not mean that it takes 14 days to migrate your coin from the time that you get to Step 9. How long it takes to go from Step 9 to being in your wallet is controlled by an algorithm, and that algorithm includes everybody else, millions of other people. And that's the determining factor as to when you get migrated. Once you get migrated, there's a 14-day pending period to allow the Pi core team or the algorithm or the blockchain to determine that everything's okay and they can release that coin to your wallet. Once it goes into your wallet, there's nothing anybody can do with it except you. One last thing on migration. If your KYC is not approved, you will not be migrated. If it's pending or tentative, there will be no migration. Regarding Unverified Coin, if you're part of somebody else's security circle or earnings team, and you have not passed KYC and been migrated, your contribution to them is unverified, and none of your contributions to their coin will be verified. It won't be lost, but it will remain unverified. The same holds true for people on your earning team. If they are not fully KYC'd and migrated, their contribution to your total will remain unverified. Releasing of unverified coin requires both of those conditions to be true. If neither one is, then it won't be released to you. Additionally, the Pi core team is still reconciling old accounts with respect to unverified balances. As I mentioned in previous videos, I've been in this since the beginning, and 80% of my earning team has vanished, and they have not completed KYC. Yet, my unverified coin balance has not changed. At some point, most of my unverified coin is going to go away. And I know this is going to happen, and it's going to hurt, but it is what it is. It can't be helped. So there is ongoing reconciliation. Another thing I'm hearing is that people thought that this very public KYC deadline meant that A, KYC was done, and B, that there was no point in mining anymore. Well, let me clear a few things up. This highly public KYC Deadline was only meant to weed out old accounts. If you had a timer that was running in your app that had time left, that deadline did not apply to you. But if you have people on your earning team that haven't opened the app in 2-3 years, they're not getting those timers. They're not looking, okay? And they're just sitting there. And the Pi Core team can't let that happen indefinitely because they have to move forward. That means trimming the dead weight. The Pi Core team implemented rolling 6-month KYC deadlines. And that's per user. Okay, there's no need for a public fanfare, none of that. Every single user has their own individual timer. Again, this very public KYC deadline didn't apply to most of you. So it was not the end of KYC. It wasn't the end of mining. It was a line in the sand to say, look, we're going to clean out our books, and moving forward, we're going to work with what we got. Another heartbreaking question that people ask is, what can I do if I lose my wallet passphrase? The simple answer is nothing. Well, not nothing, but nothing good. If you don't have a passphrase, you don't have a wallet. This is not as simple as forgetting your password on your bank account or your Netflix account. This is a crypto wallet. That passphrase is intrinsically linked to the very existence of your wallet. Your private and public keys are based off of that passphrase. So if you don't have that passphrase, you cannot access your wallet. And because the Pi network wallet is non-custodial, they don't control it. You do. And it's your responsibility to protect your passphrase. It says that very, very clearly when you created it. A lot of people lost their passphrase because something happened with their phone and it was stored on their phone. That's heartbreaking. It really is. But that was a terrible idea. I have it on my phone. I have it in email that I can access outside of my phone. I have it in several hard copies located throughout my home. And I have it shared with other people that I trust so that in any circumstance, I can recover my passphrase because I realize how important it is. The Pi network does suffer a lot from people who just don't understand crypto. And I get it. And it's heartbreaking to lose all of your hard-won Pi. But there's really nothing the Pi Core team can do about it. And the fact that they can't help you is not because they're mean or it's a scam. It's literally built into the blockchain technology. Now, you can protect yourself. Like I said, don't store your passphrase on your phone. Send an email. Share it with your trusted family members. Store it in hard copy. Hell, put it in a safety deposit box at your local bank. But don't write it on a piece of paper on your desk thinking that it's going to stick around. Or don't rely on the continuation of your phone storage indefinitely. You never know what's going to happen. The Pi app supports using biometrics to protect your wallet. So if you don't have your passphrase, but you set up biometrics at a time when you did, you have an option to get into your wallet using your Face ID or fingerprint, depending on what platform you have. That will save you because you can get into your wallet. And once you're into your wallet, you can see your passphrase and you'll have an opportunity to properly protect it this time. If you don't set up biometrics, then you're out of luck. Another very common issue is tentative KYC. Initially, KYC didn't even exist, but we knew it was coming. They always said it was coming. And when they first rolled it out, they rolled it out through a service called Yoti. And I did that, and that was fine for a while. And then they rolled out this new KYC process that they controlled, and everyone who was previously KYC'd had to go through this process. So I did that. Twice more, my account has been reverted to tentative. I've been able to resolve it without relying on the Pi Core team. This last time, I've been tentative for a little while now, and I can't resolve it. And I'm stuck just like everybody else. I'm okay with that. I'm not in any hurry. I know it won't be lost. It will work itself out. I don't really get all the anger. I mean, most of the anger is because people are just itching to get their coins and sell it. And you know what? Pi is not about that. If you're successful in getting your account and selling your Pi, good. Otherwise, just wait. Why are accounts being moved from approved to tentative? Well, there's lots of reasons. The Pi core team is constantly evolving their KYC solution. As a result of that, existing accounts are being reevaluated based on new criteria. If there's any irregularities at all, you'll be moved back to tentative. Remember, they don't want to just let anybody migrate coin and circulate it on the ecosystem. They need to make sure that you are, to the best of their ability, a real person with a single account, and that's it. So when they make these changes, obviously, they use artificial intelligence algorithms and human validators, but it's the automated systems that trigger the reversion. So when they make a change and they evaluate the accounts, it goes back to tentative, and sometimes you'll get pop-ups. Now, when you get the pop-ups is kind of random because they're working through however many millions of accounts, but at the start of a new mining session is when it will happen. And when it does, do whatever it tells you, because that's the only way you're getting out of tentative status. But in a lot of cases, it doesn't tell you anything. And this happened to me twice, and that was kind of frustrating. What I did, and it solved my problem twice, is I changed my password, I re-verified my email, I re-verified my wallet, and I made sure that I had a backup method of authentication. So I've got my phone, I've got my email, and I've got my Facebook account. And reconciling those things unlocked me twice. This last time, none of that worked. And I suspect that time was against me here, because I did get 2 liveness checks, and I did them both, and I'm still tentative. Now, I used my driver's license as an ID, and that picture is 10 years old. And that's perfectly fine for a driver's license, but a lot can change in 10 years. And when they look at the snapshots that they take during the liveness check and compare it to a 10-year-old photo, then there could be problems. And I suspect that's what's going on. And but I'm also confident that it'll be resolved. That's all I've got today. I know that I did not make a lot of people happy, but I hope at least some of you have a better understanding as to what's happening and why. If you're angry, be angry that the Pi core team is not communicating better. They're terrible at communicating. Things just happen. Nobody knows why. And that's the real problem. So many things can be avoided if you just communicate what's going on and tell people what to expect. Okay. And then when things take longer than they should because there's some glitch behind the scenes, just let them know. You don't have to give all the details, but let them know that they're not forgotten. We're still working on it, and we'll get you sorted out. Be mad at that. Don't be mad at the fact that these things are happening and you can't sell your Pi. Because if that's what you're mad at, you don't belong here. And for all of you who believe in Pi and are in it for the long haul and are willing to weather these bumps in the road, remember, the success of Pi Network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.